Hi Sales Superstars, Dr. Steve Calvin here with you today with a message about frame control. What is frame control? Well, a frame is what you put around a picture, of course, but it's also what you put around any experience of your life. It is the meaning you give the experiences of your life, or if you would like to use the word context, it's the context, the container within which different parts of our life live. And so, for example, if you are going out for the evening and you get yourself all dressed up and you're hoping to meet a member of the opposite sex, there's a series of beliefs that are going on inside of your head about your desirability, about your attractiveness, about your potential for making contact with somebody else that forms a frame, a container, a context within which you operate. Now, you might go out and say all the right words. You might go out and do all the right things. But if the frame around what you're doing is a negative frame, you're not going to get the results you want. You see, because we ultimately operate within our frames. We ultimately are limited by our belief systems, by how we see ourselves, the container within which we present ourselves to the world. Now, everybody's got a frame. And what that means is that when you're out trying to present yourself to the world, whether as a salesperson or as a parent or as a teacher or anything else, when you're out there presenting yourself to the world, you are presenting your frame to them. At the same time, they're presenting their frame to you. Part of their frame is an interpretation of who you are. Let me say that again. Part of their frame is an interpretation of who you are. So when you go out into public and you present yourself, let's say, for example, that somebody has a hard time with salespeople. As soon as they hear you're a salesman, they get a little bit kind of funny about it. Because inside of their frame, inside of their context, inside of their belief system, salespeople perhaps aren't honorable, perhaps are unreliable, perhaps are too pushy, whatever it happens to be inside of their frame. Now remember, you've got your own frame too, and your frame is hopefully a positive one. I am somebody who provides positive service. I've got integrity. I do good work. I am attractive. I am whatever the series of adjectives are that constitute the frame that you put yourself in. Whenever two people come together, they both have their own frame. Whoever has the strongest frame wins. What does that mean? Well, that means that if I see myself in a very positive light, and you start out with a frame of reference that puts me in a more or less negative light, if I have a weak frame, in other words, if I sort of think good things about myself, but I don't really have a strong level of confidence or belief in myself, I'm going to ultimately take on your frame about me. I'm going to be in your presence, and somehow I'm going to start feeling like I'm less than I thought I was. I'll feel weak, I'll feel insecure, I'll feel somewhat apologetic about my presence. That is me interpreting my life through your frame rather than interpreting my life through my frame. What do you need to do? You need to strengthen your frame. That means you need to strengthen your belief systems. You need to empower yourself in such a way that you always know and you can always access the resources that tell you who you are, so that when you're in the presence of somebody else, regardless of their frame of reference, you can help them to reframe who you are. And we see that all the time. You see that in the movies all the time when the hero of the movie meets a woman who at first rejects him because her frame is that he's a bother, he's a nuisance. But because he's got confidence, because he's persistent, because he believes strongly in himself, eventually it erodes her negative belief because his strong belief or his positive belief is stronger than her negative belief. Exactly the same thing happens in sales. When you come into a sales environment, know who you are, know your positive, beneficial value, and know what your contribution is to the other individual. And hold that frame strongly enough that eventually it wins out over whatever negative frame the other person has. And this is how you're going to win your sale. And this is the power of reframing.